just have to pull it to your face.
Watch the countdown. All right, good evening, everyone. I'll call tonight's meeting to order for November 6, 2024. Ms. Fetters, if you would, please call the roll.
Gary Gross,
Here.
Jim Hall,
Here.
Todd Moore,
Here.
Christopher Ambergy,
Present.
Jerry Heidenreich,
Here.
David Cash, Stefan Wanamaker.
Here.
Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next on our agenda tonight is our meeting minutes from September the 4th and October the 2nd. Any revision, changes to minutes? Any questions about that?
I'd move that they be accepted as presented.
Second.
All right.
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Ambergy,
Yes.
Mr. Heidenreich, Mr. Cash, Mr. Wanamaker.
Yes.
All right, this brings us to our first case this evening. This is case number 1624, a request by applicant and property owner Adam Vaughn for an area and dimensional variance at the property at 1706 Manchester Avenue. Ms. Fetters, I'll let you take the case from here.
So the request is to construct a chain link fence with a green rubber coating. The property is zoned UCS Urban Core Support Subdistrict. The variance is requested to allow chain link fencing in the UCS zoning district where chain link fencing is expressly prohibited. Per the application submitted, the applicant wishes to erect a chain link fence with green rubber coating. The applicant has requested a variance due to if a privacy fence is erected, it will be graffitied. The applicant asserts the extraordinary situation or condition of the property qualifies the case for a variance. The purpose of the UCS subdistrict is to maintain and enhance downtown Middletown by providing areas for office, institutional, and residential uses that support central district uses and provide a transition between the high-intensity UCC subdistrict and surrounding residential neighborhoods. The UCS district allows residential, including single-family, some service, office, institutional, and recreational uses. Per the Middletown Development Code, Chapter 120806, fences, walls, and hedges materials. In the UC district, the fence or wall materials and style must conform to the historic character of the district. Fences shall only consist of wood, ornamental iron, or aluminum or vinyl material which resembles wood, ornamental iron, or aluminum. Walls shall be constructed with brick or stone exposed surfaces or traditional stucco. Chain link wire and barbed wire fences are expressly prohibited in all UC subdistricts. According to the applicant does not believe, if granted, it will negatively affect surrounding properties or affect the delivery of governmental services. Per the Middletown Development Code, legal notice is required for variance request, and meeting notice letters for the proposed use variance were sent out to all property owners contiguous and directly across the street or public right-of-way of the subject property, And one comment has been received to date. The property owner across the street does not oppose the construction of the fence. Here is your variance application. Here is the area and dimensional variance review criteria. As for time limit, the applicant shall submit a completed application for a certificate of zoning compliance within 1 year of the date the variance was approved, or the approval shall expire. Upon expiration of a variance approval, a new application, including all applicable fees, shall be required before a new variance will be reviewed. Where a variance applies to a structure, the variance approval shall expire if the structure is demolished or otherwise torn down unless the requirements of Chapter 1224 nonconformities applies. As for appeals, any person or entity claiming to be injured or aggrieved by any final action of the Board of Zoning Appeals has the right to appeal the decision to the Court of Common Pleas as provided in Ohio Revised Code, Chapters 2505 and 2506.
I'm just going to say that sound popped up like 4 times in City Council last night, so do not be alarmed. It just may happen again in like 20 minutes, so I don't know what it is, but don't be alarmed.
Okay. This group may choke it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Ms. Fetters was not sworn. Sorry.
That's it. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give and have given before this board shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
That concludes my staff report.
Any questions for Mrs. Fetters before we open the public hearing? I just had one question. In the application itself, the fence, it didn't mention height or anything to do with the fence itself. I was trying to figure out, and this is a question for the applicant, but just didn't see that referenced in the application, so.
Yeah, so what he's turned in terms of just a general certificate of zoning application, is for the wood fence in the event this is denied. So
Okay.
that would be a privacy fence. I do not know the height of the chain link fence that he's requesting.
Okay. Okay.
Could you go back to the photograph which shows I guess the fence is already there,
It is just a little,
right there.
it's just a little like driveway block off.
So that's the gates. So where is, and maybe the applicant, if he's here, maybe, where is the fence, where's the proposed fence to go? If I'm missing, I can see a 6x6 fence there that's along the sidewalk. So I'm kind of losing it as to where is the fence going?
That is a good question. I believe it would be around the border of the property. What you see here is like 2 of 3 parcels included. Like the parcel goes, this is a long, narrow one that goes straight back. This one goes straight back, and then there is one to the left that goes straight back.
So we've got a photograph showing, I think that's west on Manchester with the 6x6 stacked wall fence. And then we've got the gates, but we don't have a photograph for the proposed, well, again,
yeah.
you didn't submit them, so I'm just trying to orient myself to where this proposed fence is supposed to be. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's a great question. If there's no other questions. Okay. This is a public hearing. I'd like to open the public hearing now. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the proposed variance, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the proposed variance, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the proposed variance, please come forward. Okay, seeing none to speak in opposition, I'll close the public hearing. And
Can I ask Ms. Fetters a
Ask-
question
absolutely,
now, since the
please.
public hearing is- Have you received any contact from the applicant as to why a representative is not here?
Yes, so this was submitted a day after the 3-week deadline prior to the October BZA meeting. He was not excited about that. So this was one of the 2 cases that would have been heard on the special meeting that I was asking you guys for availability for. And when I emailed him that the special meeting would not happen, it would be on the regular November meeting, he did not respond, and I, per requirement, did send him public notice via mail of tonight's meeting, and he did not respond. However, he did let me know a couple times that he travels for work, and that he would be out of the state, I believe. At least 2 weeks. I don't know how fast it was delivered by the Postal Service, but I mailed it out 2 weeks, at least 2. In-person phone conversations, and I have sent him at least 1 email.
It looks like, if I can add here, it looks like there's a retaining wall there along this, I don't know what street it's along or sidewalk.
Manchester.
It's Manchester. It's an entryway, I think. Slope going up.
Yeah, I see.
Looks like it.
Well, yeah, the retaining wall, the question I've got is, are they gonna put the fence above that then, so that you're gonna have a retaining wall that's what, 2 or 3 feet and then a fence above it?
I think that's the ultimate question.
I don't know.
Yeah, really. I think we gotta table this, because I don't know
Yeah,
what.
I agree.
I mean, I guess that would be more of a, if, when the permitting for the fence, I guess, would dictate that. So the variance is for chain link. I did see that the code does allow for metal fencing, just not chain link fence. So it looks like it could be aluminum, so it could be the more modern style aluminum, wrought iron looking fence type. I'm kind of surprised that that might not be a better option for him than chain link. So I don't know if that's something we want to table, or if we want to just provide that as an option. And I don't know if chain link, I understand that that building was there way before the UCC code was ever even thought of. But I feel that maybe there might be a better option for him.
I actually, in order to give this gentleman, I mean, because there's an application fee paid, correct?
Yes, he paid the application fee.
I would move that this matter be continued to the December meeting to give Mr., I can't remember his name, but the applicant adequate notice of a hearing so that we have an opportunity to enlighten us, because I think we're all kind of in the dark where this fence is going.
Sure.
I'd move to table the case till December 3rd meeting.
Mr. Gross?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Ambergy?
Yes.
Mr. Heidenreich?
Yes.
Mr. Cash? Mr. Wanamaker?
Yes.
Thank you. This now moves us to case number 1724. Ms. Fetters, would you like to just take the case from here?
Sure.
Okay.
So a request by applicant Ben Rancic on behalf of Shenming Yu for an area and dimensional variance for the property at 4680 Caprice Drive to add 4 truck docks located on the southeast corner of the property. The property is zoned B3 General Business District. The variance requested is to allow for off-street loading and docks on the front facade of the building, which is a corner lot faced by South Briel Boulevard and Caprice Drive. Per the application submitted, the applicant wishes to construct 4 truck docks on the existing front facade of the building. A variance is requested to make improvements to the building by making it more functional and appealing to potential companies to execute and maintain a long-term lease. The applicant asserts the hardship that pertains to the property that impairs conformance to the zoning regulations is the east-facing side of the building is the only available space to add dock positions. The purpose of the B3 General Business District is to provide for intense commercial and office development in close proximity to the interstate and high-volume streets that can provide the needed goods and services to the residents of the city, region, and beyond. Such district is most appropriately located adjacent to freeway interchanges and along major streets. Per the Middletown Development Code, Chapter 121806, Off-Street Loading Requirements, Part B, Design Standards 3, loading areas shall be located as near as possible to the main structure and shall be located in the rear yard to the maximum extent feasible. Where locating such loading areas in the rear is not feasible, as determined by the Development Code Administrator, the loading areas may be located in the side yard. The spaces shall be subject to the minimum setbacks established for the applicable zoning district. According to the application, the applicant does not believe, if granted, it will negatively affect the surrounding properties or affect the delivery of governmental services. Per the Middletown Development Code, legal notice is required for variance request, and meeting notice letters for the proposed use variance were sent to all property owners contiguous and directly across the street or public right-of-way of the subject property. One comment has been received in opposition to date, which was forwarded to you this morning. Here are the surrounding areas. Here is your variance application. Sorry, I said earlier it was for a use variance. This is area and dimensional. So here's your variance review criteria. As for time limit, the applicant shall submit a completed application for a certificate of zoning compliance within 1 year of the date of the variance was approved, or the approval shall expire. Upon expiration of a variance approval, a new application, including all applicable fees, shall be required before a new variance will be reviewed. Where a variance applies to a structure, the variance approval shall expire if the structure is demolished or otherwise torn down, unless the requirements of Chapter 1224 nonconformities applies. In the appeals, any person or entity claiming to be injured or aggrieved by any final action of the Board of Zoning Appeals has the right to appeal the decision to the Court of Common Pleas as provided in the Ohio Revised Code, Chapters 2505 and 2506. And that concludes my staff report.
Any questions for Ms. Fetters? Yes.
Just a little bit of clarity. I've read and heard you say east, and read southeast. Wouldn't that be, according to the drawing, the southwest portion of the building?
Yep, exactly. The way I see it too.
Did I have a typo?
Well, no, because the applicant put southeast.
So they're proposing to put them on this facade right here?
Yes.
Yep, right where my cursor is, right there. Yes.
As long as they're on the same page.
The drawing's on Briel. The reference is Caprice.
Is what put it back.
Back, and that'd even worse in that situation for that gentleman.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions from Ms. Fetters before we open the public hearing?
Well, yeah, I'd like to find out where this is supposed to be. Is it Caprice or?
So they would face Briel. They're gonna be right here. Right where my cursor's at.
I think the picture shows it clearer.
If you look at page 31 of the staff report, I think that's probably in front of you. It has the drawing on it, like the engineered plans, and it shows you exactly where the plan is. So page 31, show that.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm looking at.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, so what you're getting at,
Caprice.
yeah, so that's the address, right?
The Hills address, I think.
That's just the address for the property. It's certainly, it's facing the Briel side of the road.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
Okay. I'll open the public hearing now. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the proposed variance, please come forward. Mr. Cash will swear you in. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, please come forward.
Sir, raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Identify yourself, if you would, please. Speak into that microphone.
Yeah, just give us a little background on the actual intent with the business itself. Just so before four different docks there, but again, what are you doing inside the building itself? Just kind of curious. There was a question about the size of the trucks and some of the noise and things like that. I'm just trying to get to, if you have your four docks there, is it manufacturing or what are you doing there? I know that's not exactly the question here, but I'm just kind of curious. Okay. Okay.
I got a question. Do the trucks actually back into the existing building on an angle so that you can, it's level with the floor? But that'll be in front of the building or extending into the building? Okay, even if it's the side of the building, the basic question is, does the truck stay completely outside of the construction of the building, or is it allowed to back into the building in a well, basically? Okay, so the well will be outside then. So you will need some sort of barrier so somebody doesn't fall into it, like whether it's metal piping or... Okay. additional question would be, how did you settle on 4 docks? Yeah, it's on it. Is that where you're gonna drain whatever goes into the well at that? Run it out. Thank you.
At this point in time, this improvement's being done for future use by a future tenant. You don't have anything going on in there. Is that what I understood? Are there docks on the building now? And is it in that general vicinity of the southwest corner, or is it more northern? Oh, I got you. On the north side of the building. Got you.
What's the possibilities of adding the docks on the north side of the building facing Caprice over there? So we were sort of down this road with an adjacent tenant several months ago. But you don't have any idea what's going to occupy it, so you couldn't have any idea about traffic or anything like that.
Well, the one thing he is doing is putting it opposite, so it's not adjacent to the homes in the back of it. And that was one of the concerns we had before, I believe. So I think that's an advantage to where they're placing it.
And something I do want to say, when I was there taking pictures, I don't know if I included it or you can see it, but here's the alley technically behind, well, there's no backyard essentially or rear of the building for this because it is faced by 2 streets. But this is where I would guess a side dock could be. There is a bollard right here, so you can't even get through. And yes, the existing dock is on the front facade of the building that faces Caprice,
But where are the homes?
back here. And directly across the street from this front facade, right here where there is an existing dock.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor, please come forward. Yes, sir, please. Yes. Speak in favor? Okay, okay. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition, please come forward.
solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Identify yourself if you would, sir.
So your buildings are like towards the green down there? Is that where it is, or? Okay. Yeah, I
Remember that case?
Yes,
Yes.
I even remember that sewer line we talked about.
Yeah.
obviously, you know, if they put in the wells outside, you don't even have to have a truck there, it'll still block a major part of the driveway. I said, once they construct the wells, then there's gonna be a 4-foot drop in front of the building there, so they don't even have to have a truck in there, and it still would make your people go around it. I guess the question that you're asking is how far out does that actually protrude? Yeah, in order to back into the well, they're gonna have to have some room out front, for sure. Yeah, I don't think anybody here is aware of how much distance they need away from the front of the building. That's my question, you know, especially with the trucks to back in. We don't know the frequency either, because we don't know what the use of the building is. I don't think if they go to the side that you suggest, I'm not sure, they'd have less room perpendicular to that building to have a truck back through it, or back. Okay, well,
Quick question. The applicant referred to something about a fence being on the property line, and on our picture here, I guess the yellow line on that is the property line to that building. Who owns in front of that, and who owns to the south of it? Is that like an outlot? Yes? So that's actually your property out in front, like the flag lot? Okay, I understand that now. So that means they'd have to turn in off of Briel and make a right into your lot because they're gonna lose access off of Caprice. Could be.
Are you aware, do any of the other lots have easements regarding the access off of Braille through your parcel to this one? It does include that as well. So it's not only around the building, but also other access points? Is it, okay. 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 Okay.
Well,
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition, please come forward. Yes, please, yeah. I was wondering also if the applicant was here, if he wanted to make any comments himself or otherwise. No, you don't.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
No.
I got a question since you were talking about the access in front. Was there ever any consideration to moving the wells inside the building itself and having the truck back in and not have anything in front of the house other than in front of the building other than a door that comes down? Yeah, I know.
Do you happen to know what the ceiling height is in that building about there? Not in the mezzanine part, but back where the docks would be? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm just wondering if a raised dock, an above-grade dock is feasible there? If it would be to build up more of a loading area and back a truck straight in and not have a well? And just do 4 raised docks, so that way, if a truck is parked there, it's gonna disrupt flow, but when it's not in use, it'll still be a usable driveway for other properties. But again, that would kind of be determined by ceiling height and things like that, so. Right, exactly, right, so you can get, fork trucks and all that, yeah.
That might almost be cost effective.
I have a question. This is on a different issue regarding the letter that the city got regarding the man that lives on the street behind about the noise, that kind of thing. I know you don't know who's coming into the building yet and what they're going to use it for, but he has a valid point in that regard, and I didn't know if it was considered that you would have certain hours of operation as far as trucks coming in and making deliveries or taking things out, where it would cut off at a certain time. So, in other words, I think the prior person that was there, they were having trucks come in the middle of the night, doing all sorts of unloading, air brakes, everything, and it was keeping them up at nights. And I don't know if that's something that's even been talked about, since you don't know who's coming in yet, where you could limit that to maybe daylight hours or maybe early evening hours. Yeah, I know we really can't make any decision on that right now because we don't know who's there, but that's just a concern I have.
I think where I struggle with this is, we're asked to look at the review criteria itself. I mean, certainly I want businesses to be successful. I want someone to be able to use that. We always do.
Yep.
I've heard a number of good ideas here as well, but not to know any details about what we're kind of putting the cart before the horse in some ways, at least for me. I certainly want to see the business used, and I welcome that, but I'm kind of struggling here if I'm looking at whether or not it's the minimum necessary or whether it's within the spirit and intent. I'm trying to figure out how would I actually look at the review criteria if I have no clue what we're actually even doing. We're making a site marketable, and it certainly would lend itself to improving that site for a number of different purposes. I just don't have any clue what they would be. And then, we have a residential neighborhood that's behind it, so I want to be, open to the idea, and I've heard Mr. Wanamaker and others make some great ideas, I think, but that's where I'm having a problem. Yeah.
Well, unless I don't see how I can vote for this till I understand what area of the parking lot would be utilized. I can't tell if this drawing's per scale or whatever, so I can't see how far the trucks are gonna be and what the turning radius
I was
is.
thinking the same thing, Jerry, but Ms. Fetters, if you could go back to the colored aerial photograph. That one. I guess it's kind of to scale, if those are the semi-trailers that are always parked in front of the building down there on the lower left. Just to give you a mind's eye about what that would be.
I still don't understand the turning radius.
I mean, it's hard for us to
I
drive
put
trucks on paper, but
that, when I built the Square D company in Middletown, I got an outside dock in there, and we had to figure out at least how much area the turning radius isn't for that. But I still don't see it. Well, that's a good question.
actually, I believe the way it
Nothing
reads.
in here about
I believe
screening.
the way it reads is the
No.
docks themselves that were decided on.
Nothing about screening, it's about allowing the docks.
Yeah, it's a docks.
Well, I certainly understand.
It's a two-parter. It's docks on the front and then screening is part 2. Well, it's according to the code, it's fronted by 2 streets, so both this area right here, that's the front, and this area right here is also the front.
Yeah, and on your application, it says the addition of 4 truck docks located at the southwest corner of the property. Nothing about screening.
Not to be particular, but are we technically on 2 fronts if the gentleman in opposition's, or at least recommendations, lot technically goes in front of Brill and landlocks this parcel? So that could technically be a side lot, which in the code it is allowed if there's unusual circumstances. However, that also doesn't take into effect that there's easements, which, to be honest with you, just real estate mind-wise, that's kind of the one issue that's probably going to be the biggest. If there's recorded easements that are encompassing the whole property, that's going to kind of negate any decision made by the city and everything, as opposed to you have to get all the other easements re-recorded and everything like that. So, I mean, I think technically it probably could be definitely feasible. I just don't know if it can be unless we actually see what that language is with the easements.
In-stock box is not there any longer, is that the case here?
Correct. I think this gentleman bought it from InStock.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to figure this out. Any other questions? Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir. If you need to come back, we'll pull you back up here again. So, Mr. Cash, did you have other questions for?
I guess. So we've got a property that's addressed Caprice Drive, which is the front yard of this property. So technically on Brill, that's a side yard.
That's also a front yard. Yes.
And does the code, and I'm seeing down here that the development code administrator can allow loading areas on the side yard, that could be done administratively without our involvement?
Yes, but since it's fronted by 2 streets, it's considered front yards.
It's not a side yard.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I understand the dilemma. Okay. So had they been proposed, would you go back to that? Had they been proposed, whether feasible or not, had they been proposed along Caprice, we wouldn't be.
No, had they been proposed here,
Well, that could.
right,
No, not there.
or here, but the property line is right there, so, yeah. So it's,
Real. Okay.
yeah,
Proximity of the front of the building to Brill makes it a front yard.
yes. Whenever it's fronted by 2 streets, whenever you draw a line straight out from the side of the building, and that's considered.
The property line stops at that.
I believe that's another parcel in between there, but
Yeah, but there's an easement there, I guess, to get, okay.
We in deliberations?
Yes. Let me do this. Since we're kind of starting to talk here amongst ourselves, let's, if there's no other comments, no other public comments, I'm going to close the public hearing at this point. I mean, if there's additional questions, that's fine, but I will close the public hearing. Let's move to deliberation, figure this out. Yeah. I mean, we've heard several good ideas here. I think these are feasible ideas. I'm curious to hear some feedback. I mean,
I'll be honest, my first thoughts, I'm a proponent of improving, especially industrial, manufacturing, whatever kind of property you want to call that. It is in very high demand. There are not a lot of good, viable places for business to operate, and in the city of Middletown and other places. So I totally understand the need for docks, buildings with docks. It just, if anything, it probably makes less noise and less disturbances for neighbors when you have a loading dock. However, I would still argue that this is probably a side yard, just because there's a parcel in between there. And I would be all for it, except for disturbing the flow that is described in the easements around the building and in the parking lot.
So Mr. Moore, if I may. Yes, sir. Sorry to interrupt. I agree with you. I think it's probably a side yard. If you look at the drawings here, right, in the GIS, this is a Caprice property, right? This is a front yard property. So the front, I think when you practically think about it, you're like, this extends to Briel because this is the parking lot. You assume that the parking lot is probably part of this parcel. But as we can see, and as Mr. Horton described, he actually owns the front, I'll say 30 feet of the parking lot up to the corner lot. And I believe he said down to the corner lot even as well, right?
Yeah.
The south corner? Yeah. Yeah. So it's a similar kind of breakdown, I assume, where it just kind of, you flow down to the front, Briel facing, and then to the south lot. Okay, not holding you to it. Yeah, no, I get it. So I think here, the parcel we're considering, and clarify this. I don't know how this thing works. Press that button. There we go. So our parcel, runs along Caprice here. This is owned by Winchester Clark, Mr. Horton, along with this 30-foot stretch down. So if you look at this lot that we're considering, the parcel we're considering, it's this red building out along here, and it ends here. So I think the way that the development code would probably read is that this is considered a side lot rather than a front lot. We would think of it as a front lot because it, in our mind's eye, kind of faces Briel. But really, I believe this would be the side lot. And candidly, as the question was, I think, presented, and Claire said that in section 121806, she would be, as the development code administrator, it would be an administrative decision, and really probably doesn't need to be before you. The impression I heard, again, I'm reading this all for the first time tonight, so as Mr. Moore knows, I like to do, which is maybe a mistake. But I think it sounds like Mr. Metz may have been the one that had prompted this in the first case, and perhaps that's why there's some confusion with the applicant about what we're actually here for. Is it for coverage, fencing? Is it for the docks? And so I don't know the record. I don't know that candidly Claire does either, because we're kind of playing catch up from Mr. Metz perhaps leading this and now being gone. But I wonder if it's perhaps, again, if the applicant's okay with this, perhaps trying to continue it until the December meeting so that we can understand why they were prompted to file, by the city, right, prompted to file the BZA application for the variance here. And then perhaps if it's determined that this is actually a side lot, which again, my belief is that it probably is a side lot, doesn't even need to be before you guys. Again, this is not a Claire thing. This is, I think, we're just still some growing pains of losing Mr. Metz, no one being here for 6 weeks. You got stuck with me one meeting, I think, and then still trying to clean it up. So again, if the applicant's comfortable with that, that would be my recommendation so that we can kind of sort this out, and then certainly provide you all with a better opinion, not on the fly as much, but actually kind of a formal opinion. And that way you can consider it at your December meeting, because there's a chance that the application presumably could be withdrawn and it be made an administrative decision at the city staff level. So that would be my recommendation. You all can do with it what you want, but that would be my recommendation.
I'll take it.
I'm good with that.
Can we get confirmation from the applicant that you would be okay with that? Okay. So the applicant has indicated that they seem to be okay with it. I'm sure there'll be some additional conversations with Mr. Horton, not trying to circumvent the process, and certainly the concerns you all have raised, certainly I think should be part of that conversation, but, just wanted to do that. So we would need the motion second and a vote, but I think you guys are comfortable with it.
I'm certain we all appreciate that at this time.
Yes.
Okay, we have recommendation by legal counsel. Do we have a motion in a second?
I move that we table this till the December meeting.
Second.
Mr. Gross?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Ambergy?
Yes.
Mr. Heidenreich?
Yes.
Mr. Cash? Yes. Mr. Wanamaker?
You guys are loading up our December meeting.
Yeah.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Who are you?
I'm sorry, I'm Brody Conover. I'm the assistant law director for the city. So, Amy, I think normally comes to you guys. She had a kids sporting event, so here I am. Sorry, you got stuck with me.
All right. Okay, this moves us now to case 1824. Ms. Fetters, I'll let you take the case.
All right, a request by applicant and property owner Richie Dempster for an area and dimensional variance for the property at 3201 Fleming Road to construct an 8-foot picket privacy fence. The property is zoned R2 low-density residential district. The variance requested is to allow for an 8-foot fence, 2 feet taller than the maximum fence height of 6 feet in a residential district. Per the application submitted, the applicant has requested a variance due to the property being located directly next to Wildwood Golf Club's practice green. The applicant asserts the height of the fence is to help prevent erratic shots from entering the property in hopes of avoiding personal injury or property damage. The purpose of the R2 low-density residential district is to provide for a low-density, single-family residential uses in a more urban setting than the R1 district, and which are served completely by public infrastructure adequate for the applicable density of development. Per the Middletown Development Code, Chapter 120806, fences, walls, and hedges, Part F, fences, walls, and hedges inside and rear yards. Fences and walls shall not exceed 6 feet in height in any side or rear yard within any residential district or the O1 and O2 districts. Additionally, per the Middletown Development Code, Chapter 120806, fences, walls, and hedges, fences and walls and hedges inside and rear yards, fences and walls shall not exceed 10 feet in height in any side or rear yard within any residential district or in the I1 and I2 districts. According to the application, the applicant does not believe, if granted, it will negatively affect the surrounding properties or affect the delivery of governmental services. Per the Middletown Development Code, the requirement for legal notice for variance requests and meeting notice letters for the proposed use variant, I don't know why I keep it, copy and paste, were sent to all property owners contiguous and directly across the street or public right-of-way of the subject property. 2 comments have been received to date. 1 voicemail received has been in support of the fence height. The second correspondence, in addition to overarching concerns over use of the property and ongoing construction, was confused as to why the fence needed to be so tall and why the fence was not completely finished rather than leaving a large gap in the middle. Here you can see a picture from the road of the fence. Oop. Here is their certificate of zoning compliance application, and then you can see a picture of the fence from Wildwood. Here's their variance application. Here is the area and dimensional variance review criteria. And do you guys want me to read the time limit in appeals? Okay, that will conclude my report.
Sounds good. Any questions before we get started? Anyone have any questions?
So it's apparent this fence has already been constructed.
Yes.
Is that the total extent of the fence that's anticipated?
So in their application, You probably can't see it, but it looks like somebody was drawing pen right here. To show where the fence would go. I'm assuming, I did not speak to the applicant on this. I have not had any contact with the applicant. He was sent a meeting letter.
So there's pen
Generally, what happens,
intended to encircle the backyard?
here's what I'm assuming. Our permit specialist, when she talks with people filling out zoning or building forms, she'll have them draw where the fence is gonna go. And I am assuming that's what happened here. However, I have not gotten a chance to speak with the applicant.
Has anybody from zoning or whatever responsible department that might be been physically to the location to see what the terrain is?
So this is my picture.
Yeah, that's your, yeah.
That's my picture. This picture is from another one of the city staff members who is permitted to go on that because it's private property. Yes.
Somebody mentioned there was a gap in the fence, they were questioning why it wasn't complete or something. Where's that?
So I tried to get a picture. It's just the way the house sits, it's up on a hill, and it kind of appears right there, but there's also a trash can in the way, but it's like right there where my cursor is. There is definitely a gap there, but
Is the applicant going to close that gap as part of this, or we don't know?
I don't know.
Go back to the other picture, please. Aerial. The aerial.
Oh.
Yeah. Is that the actual cart path at the top of that? Well, I'll bet he does get some errant balls.
I was thinking,
They had some real golfers out there. and
That's
they
the
have
road
some
that
nice
goes back
roads.
to the practice, or to the driving range.
Yeah, yeah. That's what that is. And I think the balls that he's talking about, coming from I'm a member at Wildwood, so I don't know that impacts our decision, my involvement. But the practice green he's talking about, if that's north, if the back of his property is north, which it is, it's to the west, and it's a pretty good distance. And in my 22 years there, I've never seen anybody hitting full shots that could even come close to his fence. So I don't, but he's not here. Richie's not here, so.
There is a hole there, though, right? He backs up to green?
No.
I thought he backed up
Well,
to...
there's a hole.
like
It's
8?
number 8.
Yeah.
8. But
It's a bad shot.
bad shot. It's a 6-foot fence is going to take care of anything he needs to be concerned about there. Plus, in the backyard, I remember, boy, I remember he had major equipment in the back, and they were re-terraining, and there's actually a raised mound that he's created along that northern boundary of the property. So, if he's intending on putting a fence on top of that mound, I mean, well, you're gonna, so, but anyway, the applicant's not here.
Well, yeah, it just goes to the one comment I received as to what was really going on there. But I understand this is the focus of the meeting. The case now is for the fence. But I just wanted to convey that person's concern.
What, according to the area map here, it shows Wildwood Golf Course behind the house. Is Wildwood Golf Course zone R2?
Yeah.
do other neighbors in the area have a fence along that line there? I'm assuming he's just talking about along the cart there, and maybe how far does he want to extend it where that blue ink was, I guess. We don't know that either. I don't see how it damages the golf course, having an 8-foot fence there. So I don't know what damage it would cause unless his neighbors would gripe. You can't see the golfers out there.
Was there something in the, where was the 10-foot allowed? I noticed there was,
Industrial.
So this is where the proposed text amendment for planning commission came from at the last meeting. As this was brought to me, I noticed that there is an error in our zoning code that does say fences cannot exceed 6 height in any side or rear yard within any residential district, and then the next part of that text is fences and walls shall not exceed 10 feet in any height in any side or rear yard within any residential district. So,
good luck.
yeah, yeah.
I just noticed up there in the staff analysis, it says it's located directly next to the Wildwood Golf Club's practice green. It's not close. Practice green is down further by the clubhouse.
No, there's a small one up there,
Oh, is there?
very rarely used.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Small one up there.
Oh, okay. Never
More
mind.
like a short game area, right? Yeah.
But like I said, it's such a small little green that
Ye-
nobody uses it for
Yeah.
any kind of full shot because it's too small.
The other thing, and I'm not,
Or something.
just one additional point that Claire's already said is this is already built. So this is more of a forgiveness rather than a permission sort of thing, but just not that that should change the analysis or your thoughts, but do just want to, reinforce that.
But the issue is, do we know if that's the full build or whether his intention is to continue that? This apparently is on the west side of the backyard of his property. And Wildwood, we're looking from Wildwood.
yes.
So the question becomes, is his intention to continue it northbound and then eastbound?
I think we can qualify the amendment, or the variance approval by saying hey, it's got to be restricted to parallel or to where it adjacent to the golf course.
Where it is now? Yeah.
That's fine with me too. I don't see them. I feel the same that maybe council's suggesting, that we don't really necessarily want to tear it down. Anyway.
Why are we here? Was he caught doing this or
Yes.
somebody?
Yes, I believe it was you got a letter from our permit specialist who handles fence permits, regarding he constructed a fence without a permit. And when he filled out the zoning permit, she noticed he put 8 foot instead of 6 foot, and that's how we landed here.
So
So that,
going back to this picture that was taken from Wildwood Golf Course towards the backyard of his house. Did I read in the zoning someplace in there that the purlins, or whatever you want to call them, have to be on the inside, so a smooth fence faces the outside?
Yes, I forgot to copy that in here, but yes, the smooth side must be projecting outside of your property.
now he's,
So,
Goofed.
I wish you wouldn't have thought that.
Do we know that that's on his property? Other than him representing that?
Yeah.
I guess,
I mean,
no, I guess technically no.
because otherwise, if it was this property, if he put it on this neighbor, or Wildwood's property, then his fence is properly installed.
Maybe Wildwood did it. to
Because it's
prevent
Wildwood's
bullshit
fence.
from going in.
Oh, I'm sorry to make light.
And Wildwood's got an 8-foot fence along Briel.
Sure, that's eight, that's chain link.
that's chain link.
Is it eight?
I think so.
I'll measure it.
If, so this approval happens before the permit for the fence is approved?
Yes,
So we're assuming that a permit for a fence would correct the issues of the construction as far as being reversed and things like that?
I could definitely make sure that that language is included in the zoning permit.
That's fine with me. I didn't bring a sleeping bag. I just put this going on.
Okay. We never did open the public hearing. We see no one here.
No.
So, at this point, we've kind of been discussing this.
Let's get,
Want to make a motion?
I don't know how to on this one. I move that we allow the existing fence to exist in its present condition with no additions or any changes permitted.
Yeah, I was going to ask if there's any feedback even from legal and just how to structure this motion, or if that's good enough for Mr. Heidenreich. So
Yeah, I think that was well said.
First time that's happened.
So, well, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Okay.
Mr. Gross?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
I'm gonna,
Debating.
no.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Ambergy?
I'm gonna say no.
Mr. Heidenreich?
I'll say yes.
Mr. Cash?
Yes.
Mr. Wanamaker?
Yes.
Reluctant, yes. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, if I can put that on the record.
Sometimes it hurts.
I'm not a bleeding heart. I think they should leave it alone, but fine him. That's what I think.
Yeah.
You could have added that.
It's 4.
We'll find out it's
Okay.
Howard's fence.
All right, this moves us now to case number 1924. And Ms. Fetters, please, when you're ready.
A request by applicant and property owner Roger Lowe for an area and dimensional variance for the property at 4915 Kilcary Drive to construct a shed. The property is zoned R2, low-density residential district. The variance requested is to allow the shed to be located in the front yard of the property, which is a corner lot faced by Kilcary Drive and Tipperary Drive. Per the application submitted, the applicant wishes to build a large shed, 24 feet by 16 feet, for lawnmowers and tool storage. The applicant asserts the exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape of a specific property, an extraordinary situation or condition of their property, qualifies the case for a variance. The applicant notes that the front yard where the shed will be placed is fronted by a short, dead-end street and will be surrounded by hedges and a fence. The purpose of the R2 low-density residential district is to provide for low-density, single-family residential uses in a more urban setting than the R1 district, and which are served completely by public infrastructure adequate for the applicable density of development. Per the Middletown Development Code, Chapter 120410, Site Development Standards, Setbacks, Yards, and Lot Type Requirements. Part F, corner lots. Lots that have street frontage on 2 intersecting streets shall be considered a corner lot. Per the Middletown Development Code, Chapter 120601, Accessory Uses and Structures, Part B, General Provisions. Unless otherwise provided for in this section, all accessory uses and structures shall be located in the side or rear yard. Per the Middletown Development Code, Chapter 120601, Accessory Uses and Structures, Table 120601, Permitted Accessory Uses and Structures, detached storage and utility sheds, gazebos, pool houses, and other similar buildings are permitted in the R2 zoning district in the rear yard of the lot. According to the applicant does not believe, if granted, it will negatively affect the surrounding properties or affect the delivery of governmental services. Per the Middletown Development Code, the requirement for legal notice for variance requests and meeting notice letters for the proposed area and dimensional variance were sent to all property owners contiguous and directly across the street or public right-of-way of the subject property. 2 comments have been received to date. both comments have been asking for clarification on what the letter meant in regards to the applicant/owner wishing to put a shed in the front yard. Here is their zoning permit application. Here is a, gosh, I can't think of the word. Thank you, drawing of the shed. And they did call out that the siding will be vinyl siding to match the home. Here are pictures of the lot and where it would go.
That's not the right lot. That's temporary.
Oh, no, it would go right here. For some reason, the timestamp snaps onto whatever road I was standing on.
Oh,
So I was standing in the middle of the road,
I was gonna say,
but it's really just a dead-end street. Here is their variance application. Here is the area and dimensional variance review criteria. Here is the time limit and appeals. And that concludes my staff report.
Thank you. Any questions?
Could you go back to the overhead photograph that shows the, there you go, that, look, went one too far. There appears, and I assume the applicant's here, there appears to be a fence there that separates part of the yard from a pool. So
Yes.
if the proposed shed were to be placed in the opposite corner of the, is that still considered a front yard, even though it's directly behind the back of the house?
No, so the front yard is, if you draw a line straight back from
Okay.
there, everything over here is considered the rear yard. But this is still the front yard.
Any other questions before we open the public hearing? Okay, anyone wishing to speak in favor, please come forward. Mr. Cash will swear you in.
Sir, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the true self you got? Thank you. Identify yourself, sir. Claire, could you scroll to the photograph that shows the hedge and there's a red pickup truck? One more. No, I have it on my package. Okay. The bottom, sir, what street is that we're looking at? Does temporary dead end right at the boundary of your property?
okay. I know where it is.
That's what it looked like. Thank you.
Any questions?
I'm just curious, on that top view, what are those stripes in the back there, the way they're, the light and dark green lines? Go to the top view there, Claire. Yeah, see,
Lawnmower.
that's just a cutting the lawn path. Okay, I don't know what the heck that was. That's pretty good cutting, I see.
You gotta deviate, you gotta start going perpendicular, diagonal. That's what you gotta do. That's what you're supposed to do. I try to, but.
Any other questions for Mr. Lowe?
Do you know your neighbor across the Tipperary there? Oh, I know who he is. Yeah, I know Azo is. Yamash worked at AK, engineer. Yeah, I know Azo. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe. Okay. Seeing no one to speak in opposition, we'll close the public hearing. Just as we move through deliberation, if we could just ask for someone to cite the review criteria for us for the record.
I'd like to move that we approve the variance for the accessory building to be placed in the front yard of a corner lot. And I believe criteria number 9, where the spirit and intent of the code is being followed by the variance. So that's it.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, we got it. Okay, Gary has it.
Mr. Gross?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Ambergy?
Yes.
Mr. Heidenreich?
Yes?
Mr. Cash? Mr. Wanamaker?
Yes.
This brings us to our last case this evening, 2024.
All right, so a request by the applicant and property owner, Lawrence Tuckosh, for a use variance for the property at 3121 Plymouth Street to use residential lots to construct a new manufacturing plant for the Middletown Industrial Technologies. The property is zoned R4, attached residential district. The variance requested is to allow for manufacturing and production indoors, use type in the R4 zoning district, a prohibited use. Per the application submitted, the applicant wishes to be granted a use variance for the parcels, they are with the blue stars, to allow for a new manufacturing plant to be constructed for Middletown Industrial Technologies. The applicant asserts the new building will enhance property values. The purpose of the R4 attached residential district is to provide for moderate to high-density residential development, generally located in the core area of the city, and that reflects the historic urban development pattern in and around downtown Middletown. Per the Middletown Development Code, Table 1204-3, principally permitted uses, manufacturing and production indoors is considered a prohibited use in the R4 zoning district. The Middletown Development Code, Chapter 120601, accessory uses and structures, Part E, standards for specific accessory uses and structures, home occupations, Part D, prohibited home occupations, welding and machine shops. Welding and machine shop operations are prohibited use as an accessory use under home occupations. Per the Middletown Development Code, Chapter 123002 definitions, manufacturing and production indoors is defined as the manufacturing, processing, or assembly of products within a fully enclosed structure where noise, odor, light, or vibrations is not noticeable from the adjacent properties. This use type shall not include establishments that provide electroplating, metal stamping or forging, or vehicle processing. According to the application, the applicant does not believe, if granted, it will negatively affect the surrounding properties or affect the delivery of governmental services. Per the Middletown Development Code, The requirement for legal notice for variance requests and meeting notice letters for all proposed use variants were sent to all property owners contiguous and directly across the street or public right-of-way of the subject property. No comments have been received to date. Here's the table. Here is some surrounding areas. Directly across the street is the old Middletown Industrial Technologies building right here. And then directly across the street from the house of where, next to where the building would be built is also not a house with some outdoor storage. These photos were sent in by the applicant. Here is the variance application. Here is the use variance review criteria. And here is the time limit and appeals text. And that concludes my staff report.
I had a question about the old building. Is it still in use? Is it still using the building, or?
So, I actually don't know. This was mailed in, this application was mailed in to me by the applicant. And I
tried to look it up before we got.
like, on the zoning code, it does say it's vacant, but I also I wouldn't trust that.
By today, there were several cars parked there. The door was open, but I don't know if they were, could be storage or anything like that, or they're operating there, or.
Was it primarily a welding facility or something like that?
He had some machining. I was in that building, and when he first took it, and he had a big machine, milling machine and stuff like that there. But I got the question, is he abandoning that building to build this new one, or is he gonna have this?
I'm assuming he's just building a larger facility across those 3 lots.
We approved that one.
Yeah, and
That was a gas
and
station.
It was, and actually, he did a good job.
I guess that wasn't
Yeah.
a house, though.
He did do a good job.
And the house that he's living in, it used to be a grocery store, I think,
Yep.
years and years ago.
Yep,
So
so
he could-
Gracie's.
Yeah. He's been a good neighbor there, better than some of them across the caddy corner, for sure. That's all I know about it. I don't know.
Might have been before my time, but was that building already there, or did the board approve that building being built there?
No, it was built.
It was already there.
They used to fix cars in that thing and all kinds of
Heard the
stuff.
conversation, I just
You have
wanted
to be an old man to know that.
Yeah, I'm on my way.
You're on your way. You'll never catch me.
Okay. Any other questions for Mrs. Fetters?
Well, you have no,
No drawing, what the hell he wants to do?
not even a diagram of what he wants to build, or?
It could be a,
Yeah, I did reach out to the applicant via email and asked if he had any supporting documentation to include, and he sent in these pictures.
and some of these gentlemen might know, or others might know, is this his personal residence currently?
Yes.
He lives across the street from that, so he's wanting to, is he wanting to use all 3 lots to demolish his house and build something new, or just use the 2 vacant lots?
No, so on his application, he did specify the parcel numbers. Oops. Yep, the parcel
Okay, so
numbers,
just the 2 part.
and it matches up with the 2 that had the blue star.
Big backyard.
Oop, sorry. There.
I sure would like to support him on this thing, but I think he would give us some sort of diagram as far as what size he wants to build, and is he gonna have
Yeah,
off-street access and parking and whatever else?
yeah.
Hours of operation, all that, similar to what he said.
Product produced.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if there is a consensus to deny, if we just cite the review criteria for the record.
I have a question before I might be Rhodey there. I'm a manager of an LLC that owns a property contiguous to it. I would assume that would be acceptable since I'm not doing any specific favor to a person that owns the property?
So you abut the property that you are a
Correct.
member of?
Manager of an LLC, not an owner, just a manager.
Okay.
Just curiosity.
Yeah, so the analysis is I mean, the short of it is that you cannot use your position to confer a benefit or detriment, right, to them. Typically, if you own property and it abuts, then it's almost always, generally within 150 feet. That's kind of the benchmark we use, that you should probably abstain. You know, as you get further away from ownership, you know, I don't know all the details of it, but the safest thing probably would be, especially if you abut the property, it probably does make sense to abstain. And if you want to talk offline sometime about some of the details of, you know, what you do, if there's a pay structure, that sort of deal, then we can. But, you know, typically, if you own
And for future reference.
yeah, exactly. Typically, if you own a property, lease gets a little trickier. But if you own property within 150 feet of a property you're considering, best to abstain. So.
Claire, you stated that nobody complained or anything, no feedback.
No,
Okay, that's unusual.
I didn't get any return letters either. So I don't know. Maybe people are used to it, but I'm not going to infer.
Well, do we have a motion? Anyone like to make a motion?
I'd like to table, because I don't know what he wants to do.
Yeah, I'll move that we table it.
We're doing that tonight, ain't it?
That's 3.
Does that give him enough time to get diagrams and drawings and all that, I guess?
How much information you want, guys?
Well, because I don't want to deny it, because then he'd have to reapply.
Right.
And I don't want to spend that money, but
Are we good, are we just gonna go with a little more surface knowledge or
Like, see what he's
business
gonna
to
build there.
product, you know, with residences all around? We're gonna have a bad odor, we're gonna have,
Well, we should know what he's
Chemicals.
gonna do,
yeah.
I imagine it's similar, but, I mean,
Just-
he's wanting to get bigger, you never know, so.
Yeah, it may be the same product.
So was the question about giving him time, or how would we structure that in terms of, so if we give him a continuance, are we trying to give him some type of timetable, or saying that we would like to see that for next month?
What's fair and reasonable?
I was going to clarify that.
Yeah, so I would probably vote to continue, have Claire reach out and say, listen, they would have you, if you want to provide additional information in December, they're willing to consider that. You know, we typically, as you guys know, don't like to continue things too far. So certainly, if, you know, it is candidly tough times with Thanksgiving coming up, and then Christmas holiday after that. So certainly it would give the chance to reappear in December. If the applicant even wanted to show up and request a continuance prior to January, they could, if they need time for drawings to get done or whatever. But I would set it to continue to December, and then if they want to come and request a continuance in December to January, I certainly would consider that before the board. Because I think if notice has gone out, they can't request it via like staff, right? I know that we've run into some issues with that in the past with TZ containers, actually, but so they would have to appear to request it, I think. But I would just kind of let Claire provide the comments you provided about receiving additional documents, and then kind of see what they want to do with it.
Okay. Someone like to make a motion for that?
I'll move that Claire reaches out and that the applicant respond to us by no later than the January meeting.
So the January meeting falls on New Year's Day.
Well, you can move it out a week.
We're okay to move that. I'm okay to move that, sorry to speak.
The January meeting falls on New Year's Day.
It sure does.
You try having a meeting on New Year's Day.
I'm not.
I just want to see it.
I watch the football games.
Maybe if you just continue to December, then that way, if we need to discuss with the applicant, we certainly could.
In good faith, I want
Yeah, I totally understand. I think Claire can make that known.
to move that we continue this until December.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Mr. Gross?
Yes?
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Ambergy?
Yes.
Mr. Heidenreich?
Yes.
Mr. Cash? Mr. Wanamaker?
Any old or new business tonight? Okay. No old or new business, so that means, go ahead.
I had a comment I wanted to make. I've noticed lately, and especially tonight, how many applicants are not showing up or having a representative show up to discuss their cases. And they're not doing themselves any favors by not being here. Now, I understand things happen and you can't get out of it, that's fine, but they need to communicate better because they're tying our hands in a lot of cases because we don't know all the details and we don't have anybody to ask. So I just wanted to put that out there.
True.
It is.
Any other comments? All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 Opposed? We're adjourned.
All right.